Hey, folks, welcome to Plan the Day on Tomorrow. My name is Garry Thurman, founder and CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to us on one of our many radio shows in the Southeast or watch us on YouTube or Facebook Live. We do appreciate you guys so much and hope you are getting everything out of the show that we are intending to give you, and that is just pure financial education. Doesn't matter if you're 25, 65, or 95. We're here to help you in any way we can. And we really base the show purely on educational information, just trying to help you guys in any way that makes more sense for you when it comes to retirement planning. And in here today, we're missing somebody. I got Bobby Futch in here with me. Tim is missing in action.
He's MIA this morning. How you doing, Garry?
He said his allergies are killing him.
Yeah, he's in the office.
He'd probably sound like I don't know who'd he sound like if he was in here talking.
Yeah, it's probably good he's not on the radio now.
But he is here working.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. But Tim, we miss you, buddy. But Bobby, me and Bobby were chatting this morning before the show, and Bobby's got a new one at the home that's not sleeping so good.
Oh, yeah, Benji there. He's on a little tear. He's just turned 4 months old. And, man, I think we probably got 3-4 hours sleep last night already. So anybody got any ideas? We've tried a bunch of them, how to get a 4-month-old back to sleep. You just let us know. Drop in the comments.
Yeah. So comment on YouTube or Facebook or call us and give Bobby some information on how to help their baby sleep better.
We're
That's
getting
what
desperate.
we're looking for right now. Let me throw those phone numbers out there really quick. We have an office here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We got one in Knoxville, Tennessee. Here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Up in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. So, Bobby, I was thinking about what do we want to talk about today? I was looking at some stuff yesterday, and, we always talk about different vehicles, different tools, all these different things people can take advantage of, which I'm sure that'll come up today. But I started looking at some of the headlines that we've seen over the last several years, the last several weeks. And I've got one in front of me that just came out yesterday that you and I are going to talk about. But I want to talk about some different headlines out there, and I kind of put you and I on the hot seat, so to speak. But something I think is important for everybody to know. A lot of people are intimidated to come and work with a firm like ours. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't think they have enough money. Maybe they just are overwhelmed when it comes to financial planning and retirement planning, and they get nervous about different things. But would you just take a few minutes for our listeners out there and just explain, if someone walks through the door at Guardian Investment Advisors here in Chattanooga, up in Knoxville with Brogan, what's the very first thing you want to know about that person?
Yeah, we're just going to have a quick conversation about what their goals are, right? For a lot of our folks that we talk to, that's, retirement. But, there's also short-term goals, want to pay down some debt, want to put grandkids through college, that sort of thing. Just kind of figure out what makes you tick. Right, and it's just a conversation.
Yeah,
and that's really one of my favorite parts of my job is just sitting down and figuring out, what people want to do. What are their goals in life. But that's really it's just a conversation, because if we don't have that conversation about you and your family first, I don't know how to get to you where you want to be. Right,
and you got to know everything.
That's right.
One of the things, and let's just throw this out there. One of the things we always ask folks to bring is their current statements. Mm-hmm. And if you want to Sharpie out your information, whatever, that's fine. But if we don't know the full picture of what you actually have, then it's hard for us to do planning around that. Correct. I mean, we need to know what you got going on.
As fiduciary advisors, we're obligated to do that, right? If you come in and just say, I want to talk about this one account, that's really tough for us because we don't know how it plays with everything else, right? So you may have some 401ks, you may have some taxable brokerage accounts, you have some CDs. All of that stuff fits into the plan.
Yeah.
And I always like to say it's like a jigsaw puzzle.
There you go.
You ever do jigsaw puzzles when you were a kid?
Sure.
You get all the pieces out on the table, and then you flip them all over, and then you do the outline first. Well, that's kind of what a financial plan is. We need to make sure we know what all the pieces are to put them together to give you that complete picture.
I love that you bring that up because, when I think about the retirement puzzle, you start with the outer edges, right?
That's how I do it.
That's how most people do it. And you get into those eternal edges, but what we have seen, you and I have been doing this a long time, Bobby, what we have seen is as you go into retirement and you're 65 and above, some of those middle pieces fall out. Some of those middle pieces don't fit anymore. So you got to have a plan that's adjustable, that's breathable.
Yeah, that's a good point, Gary. And it's often, like we'll put a plan together, now for what your current circumstances are, what your goals are, what the market is allowing us and giving us right now. Some or all those things may change a year from now, 10 years from now, certainly 15, 20 years from now.
Right.
And so you got to be able to have a plan that adjusts.
I think that's big. Do you, when we're putting people first, let's just call it that. We're putting people first in this first meeting when they come in and see you and Tim here in Chattanooga, Brogan up in Knoxville. By putting people first, I'm assuming one of the top conversations that you have is, what are you guys worried about? What are your fears?
Yeah, everybody's fear is a little bit different, what keeps them
Sure.
up at night. And so it's important that we address those concerns with folks. For a lot of people in retirement, it's running out of money. That's one we hear about all the time. But it can be, a bunch of other things. I'm really concerned about the market. The market, I think, has made a huge run. People say that all the time. When is it going to, come back down to earth? I don't know, right? But if that's keeping you up at night, we need to be able to figure that out. Being able to take care of kids. We see that often now, especially if you have, special needs kids or grandkids, right? Children keep people up at night, I know that literally, right? We talked about that earlier. But on a bigger sense, those are the things that we have to address with everybody. And without having this conversation to figure out what those pain points are for every individual that walks in here, we can't really address them all. So that's part of why that conversation happens.
Yeah, and you brought up income planning because it's still the number one fear in America.
Absolutely.
Running out of money, we're living longer. However, over the last 3, 4, or 5 years, when I've sat down with folks, something that comes up very often, as a matter of fact, pretty much all the time now, is healthcare. Mm-hmm. It's such a big component to retirement planning now. Because we are living longer, we're going to have more opportunities to get sick. So that has to be part of the planning process.
Yeah, and it's so complicated, right?
It's so hard.
If we talk about Medicare is a big part of it, that's when you get to be 65. But, we're working with a lot of folks here recently. It seems like we've had a lot more that are wanting to retire before 65.
Yeah.
So now you got to pick up healthcare coverage somewhere before 65.
Correct.
Right? How that works with, your spouse and benefits and income, it's complicated. But to your point, people are living a lot longer.
Yeah.
And so they're worried about getting sick.
Yeah.
Medicare doesn't cover that. So now we get into long-term care coverage.
Mm-hmm. Expensive.
It can be it's expensive, right? If you have to pay out of pocket, certainly.
Sure.
But there are ways now that we can help take care of that. That's not the old school long-term care contracts.
Traditional long-term care.
Traditional long-term care.
Yeah.
A lot of insurance companies are getting really good and doing asset-based long-term care.
They're amazing.
You have these assets. A lot of times people have already saved for the long-term care, or they're using a fixed index annuity to take care of their income. Well, we can add long-term care benefits to a lot of those,
which is
to
really
use
neat.
If you need it.
Keyword.
If you need it, right? If you don't, it'll continue to pay that income like it's planned, or it'll continue to grow, and you can leave it to beneficiaries.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Again, this is one of those things that help people sleep better at night.
Yeah, if you're someone out there listening right now, income planning is on your mind, long-term care, healthcare planning is on your mind. I invite you to come in and see Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga. Have that conversation, because without having that conversation, you're kind of running on hope. You're hoping things go well. And we don't want you to run on hope in retirement. We want you to run on confidence. And that's what we create here at Guardian Investment Advisors. Bobby, really quick, what do you think the biggest mistake is that you guys see that pre-retirees are making right now?
Not understanding where their money is.
Okay.
Right.
In other words, how it's positioned.
How it's positioned.
Okay.
And then we oftentimes see, an account with a handful of mutual funds in it. And people assume they're diversified. Until you dig into what those mutual funds actually own, you don't really know that. And a lot of times we'll come in and find out that somebody's not nearly as diversified as they think. They're taking on a lot more risk as they get ready for retirement.
And again, we just talked about living longer. As you get older, you don't need to have as much risk in your portfolio. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I caution people just to say, at what age should I reduce risk? It's not really an age
It's your
thing.
lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, and it's how close you're getting to retirement, and when you need to go from accumulation to distribution or the income phase.
Preservation.
So, I mean, if you're going to retire at 50, you need to be dialing that risk a lot back earlier than somebody's going to retire at 70.
Yeah, right.
It's when you're going to make that transition.
There's so many things that go into this first appointment. We call that our discover appointment. And one thing I want to make sure that you guys understand, that appointment is absolutely complimentary. We do not charge to sit down and have this conversation with you. Come in and have a conversation with Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga. Have a conversation with Brogan up in Knoxville. Let's just see if how we plan and how we help our clients make sense for you. Guess what? We might not be the perfect fit, or we might be the perfect fit. But until you have that complimentary conversation, you're just simply not going to know that. So come in and see us here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. You can also call the Knoxville number, 865-951-7526. As always, we like to give out a copy of my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. A couple of different ways you can do that. Those same phone numbers, you can text the word book. My wife will reach out to you, get your information, and send you a book right out for absolutely free. Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Knoxville, 865-951-7526. And you can always just simply go to your smartphone and go to plantodayoffer.com. Plantodayoffer.com. Same thing. We're going to get your information. We'll send you the book. Once you read the book, love for you to come in and have a conversation with the guys. Like Bobby mentioned earlier, they are fiduciary advisors. They're going to put your best interest first, and that's what it's all about here at Guardian Investment Advisors. Now, we talked about what that first appointment looks like here at Guardian. When we come back, we're going to dig into some headlines. And, Bobby, we're going to start with this one that just came out yesterday, how to avoid blind spots of the 4% retirement rule. You don't want to miss that, guys. We'll be right back.
Every year, taxes are handled the same way. You earn income, the year ends, and you file a return. That trains us to look at taxes through a rearview mirror. Retirement taxes do not always work that way. Qualified retirement accounts are generally taxed based on future income decisions and future tax rates. Once those decisions are made, flexibility may be limited. That's why tax planning often works best when done proactively, before decisions are locked in. Visit plantodaytaxbill.com or scan the QR code to use our free tax calculator and see what that potential tax liability on your qualified retirement assets could look like based on your current assumptions.
Welcome back to Plan the Day on Tomorrow. Garry Thurman, founder and CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. Thank you for taking time to join us today on Facebook, on YouTube, or listening to us on a lot of the radio stations that we run all over the Southeast. I want to give those phone numbers out one more time. Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Up in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. Bobby and I just had a fun conversation on the first segment talking about what to expect, more or less, when you come into our offices. You know, what are we going to be looking for? What does that conversation look like? And again, it's absolutely complimentary. So I'd invite you to call one of those numbers. Come in and see Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga. Go see Brogan up in Knoxville. Let's make sure that we have your retirement plan right on track to where you want to be. So, Bobby, let's do some fun questions here. I know you said, Garry, I'm going to throw a fun question at you, so I'm going to let you ask me first.
Yeah, this one I thought was really neat, and well, just ask. We'll have a conversation. Garry, if you could only keep one type of financial account, right? We know there's a whole bunch.
There's a bunch of them out there, yeah.
You can only keep one. Which one would it be?
Wow, what a great question. You know what? When you ask me that question, I think about my boys, because my boys are both around 30 years old, and I'm thinking about where they currently work right now. They got a great 401k.
Yeah.
They're getting a 6% match.
That's awesome.
On their 401k. That's free money. So if I'm going to focus on someone in their early 30s, 40s, even early 50s, I do think having that 401k and taking advantage of those matching funds are great. And can I put one more on top with that same age group?
Sure.
Got to have some money in savings.
Oh, yeah.
You got to have an emergency account so you don't run up this credit card debt and all these other things. So I think my answer was geared towards younger people, and have that 401k. Make sure you're taking advantage of that matching fund. So I asked you the same question. Let's change generations. Let's say we're 50 and above.
Yeah, I'm going to say if I could only have one of these, and I would say even for younger folks, it may make sense for them too, but a Roth IRA.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right. Roth IRAs are just great. You know, you give up that current income tax deduction, right, which is it's kind of a bummer. But what you do get, I think, is a lot more powerful. You get, tax-free growth. And then when you pull those distributions out in retirement to spend it, it's tax-free as well.
That's right.
So basically, you're prepaying taxes with Roth IRAs.
And the neat thing about it, going back to my answer with the 401ks, a lot of 401ks
Yeah.
now offer a Roth option.
That's right. You
So
got to be
those younger
careful.
people, a big deal.
Yeah, it could be a huge deal. You got to be careful if you get a match in your 401k.
Right.
Because oftentimes your employer will not match Roth contributions.
Most of the time because they're not getting the tax benefit.
That's right. But we're seeing it more and more now.
Yeah.
So that's worth asking for. And so if you could get like a super account, you can combine our two answers. You have a Roth 401k with a match. What a slam dunk that would be.
Absolutely. Hey, there's something we'd like to offer you guys. We have a quiz that you can absolutely take from the comfort of your home, giaquiz.com, giaquiz.com. You can put your information into this quiz, and it'll really tell you if you're set up and you're ready to retire. So giaquiz.com, check that out. Bobby, I want to talk about this because we kind of beat this rule up a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important, though.
So Wall Street Journal, July 6th, how to avoid blind spots of the 4% retirement rule. Now, before you answer, this rule came out many years ago, and we both know that when this rule came out that bonds were paying very, very well.
That's right.
Things have changed with the 4% rule, Bobby. I'm not sure that this is the perfect scenario for anybody moving into retirement.
I think the 4% rule is the whole thing's a blind spot, right?
That the whole thing's a blind spot. That's a great answer.
Here's the issue: is when that was put together and it got popular, was you could do your asset allocation, based on your age, and you'd have equities or stocks, and then you'd have fixed income or bonds. Well, the issue with that now is that, back in the early 80s, right, if you had a mortgage back in the early 80s, it's not unheard of that you're paying 12, 14% interest on a house note, right? That's absurd in today's markets.
Yeah.
Well, the reason it's come down is because the Federal Reserve, since that time, has lowered rates and lowered rates and lowered rates and lowered rates.
Sure.
Till, early, 5-6 years ago, we essentially hit 0% rates during COVID, right?
Yeah.
The world was going to fall apart. The economy was going to collapse. So we dropped rates almost as far as we could to spur the economy. Well, that just means that rates were so low. Now you're getting bonds that even now, as rates have ticked up slightly, a federal note is going to pay 3.5%, 3.75%.
Right.
Woohoo! Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, when those rates did spike to fight inflation after that, then your bonds lost a whole bunch of money. So if you lost 15% in bonds, which was the historical number, and you're making 3.5%, it's going to take you 5-ish years to get back to even on a bond.
Right.
Right? It's supposed to be your safe asset.
Right, yeah.
So they're just not producing income anymore. So the 4% rule is probably more like the 2% rule now.
Yeah, I think there was a Wall Street Journal last year. Tristan and I actually did a video on it that the 4% rule is now the 2.1% rule.
Yeah.
So let's stick with this for a minute.
Well, let's real quick before we're going to stick to it. But just think about what that really means. If you've managed to save $1 million in your retirement and you're doing the 2.1% rule, you're a millionaire that's spending $21,000 a year. That sounds kind of lame.
What's fun about that?
Right? But that's what that percentage rule will get you. Even if you still believe in the 40% or the 4% rule, it's 40 grand.
40 grand.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot better ways now to produce an income than the 4% rule.
So that's where I was headed. We're talking about income. So we're talking about someone retiring, and let's just say they're 66. I'm just throwing a number out there. They've got $1 million. Mm-hmm. And they're going to live on the 4% rule and pull $40,000 out a year to live on. Now, maybe they have a pension, maybe they have a Social Security to go along with that. But something you and Tim talk about all the time. What if someone retires at 66, the market's doing well, 4% rule is working, now all of a sudden the market has a correction. Mm-hmm. So let's say the market drops 20%. So now, are they still pulling out the same amount of money on a decreasing asset?
Yeah, well, they certainly could. We'd probably suggest you not do that. But what that means is that through no fault of your own, now your income is cut by 40%, right? And the bills don't get cut at the same time.
Right. Lifestyle doesn't get cut the same.
You're not going to call the power company and say, hey, Georgia Power or, Tennessee Light, I'm sorry, my income went down by 40%. Can you reduce my bill by 40%?
Yeah.
It just doesn't work, right?
Don't work.
So your budget gets really tight. The neat thing about the tools we have available now, or a lot of these fixed indexed annuities that we talk about,
Yeah.
they've got guaranteed payout percentages, in excess of 6%, right? Some of them are 8, 9%.
My favorite one right now is 7.5%. A 7.5% guaranteed joint. I'm sorry. Let me point.
Yeah.
Joint payout. That means it's good for your life and your spouse's life.
So you're going to guess at a 4% rule that probably doesn't work anymore, or are you going to use one of these guaranteed payout rates?
But in saying that, a lot of people don't like annuities, Bobby. Sure. Okay, but we're not talking about taking your $1 million, putting all of that into a fixed indexed annuity for this income. We're only looking to take enough of that $1 million, put it into what we call our green bucket of money, into a fixed index annuity to create an income. The income that what's your goal income? We're only looking to take a portion of that money and put it aside. The rest of the money you're going to leave in the market. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what 95% of our clients do, and that's why the conversation, the meeting we had in the first segment we talked about, that's so important, right? Because I got to know what kind of income I'm trying to make up. And so we'll look at Social Security. We'll look at other pension income. If you've got rental income, that's all important. And that's all, fairly guaranteed income, right? Maybe rental income's not. But if you've got a good rental history, that's pretty stable income, right? And so we're only going to use that fixed index annuity to add to that income for what you need to do to make sure your lifestyle is taken care of.
And in most cases, now everybody's different, but in most cases we're looking at 25, 30%. Of the $1 million, somewhere in that neighborhood that might go into the annuity?
Yeah, it really depends on their income goals. Some people love to spend money, and great, you earned it, right? So you may need a little bit more.
A little bit more in there.
A little bit more. But, we're meeting with some folks yesterday. Pretty much the same, conversation. If they've saved over $1 million, have some rental property, they're spending about $5,000 a month in retirement. Their Social Security covers a big portion of that.
Yeah, so they don't need to put a lot in there.
A couple $100,000 would more than take care of their guaranteed income.
It's funny. I'm headed to Knoxville to see a client this afternoon, and she's got right about $3 million. She's retiring at the end of this year. Bobby, we're only taking 25% of the $3 million, put it into a fixed index annuity that's going to give her the income to go along with her Social Security and her pension. She's like, this is fascinating to me because now 75% of my money is still working for me in the market. Only, we wasn't trying to put 50, 60, 70% in there. We're just putting just enough to cover the income basis.
And everything that stays in the market is going to grow and keep up with inflation, keep up with potential taxes in the future. And if she wants to blow it out one year and go take her family on a trip,
then pull it out.
She's got the money available to her.
And it's just crazy. I think a lot of financial planning firms just make income planning complicated. Let's just call it what it is. At Garry Investment Advisors, we try to make income planning as simple as it can be, so every single day, every single month where the paychecks are coming from once you retire. Hey, come in and see Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Go see Brogan in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. Now, those same two phone numbers, you can text the word book, and we will send you my copy. I'm sorry, I'm getting all gibberish here. A copy of my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow, absolutely free. Again, Chattanooga, text the word book, 423-710-9199. Up in Knoxville, text the word book, 865-951-7526. Or get out your smartphone and go to plantodayoffer.com. Plantodayoffer.com. Put your information in there. We'll also send you the book right out absolutely free. When we come back on the third segment, we're going to jump into some more articles from the Wall Street Journal that might be interesting to you, and it might be related to you when it comes to retirement planning. We'll be right back.
Every year, taxes are handled the same way. You earn income, the year ends, and you file a return. That trains us to look at taxes through a rearview mirror. Retirement taxes do not always work that way. Qualified retirement accounts are generally taxed based on future income decisions and future tax rates. Once those decisions are made, flexibility may be limited. That's why tax planning often works best when done proactively, before decisions are locked in. Visit plantodaytaxbill.com or scan the QR code to use our free tax calculator and see what that potential tax liability on your qualified retirement assets could look like based on your current assumptions.
Hey guys, welcome back to Plan the Day on Tomorrow. My name is Garry Thurman, founder and CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. Having a great show with my good friend and fiduciary advisor, Bobby Futch, today. Bobby and I are just taking a couple articles from the Wall Street Journal and just talking about the different things and how they relate to you, or maybe they relate to someone you know when it comes to retirement planning. Hey, if you're out there and you're listening, you're like, these guys got some good stuff going on, guys, just come in and see us. It's that simple. The meeting is absolutely complimentary. We would love to have a conversation with you. Here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Up in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. And as always, you can go take our quiz, GIAquiz.com, GIAquiz.com. Put your information in there, and then we'll get that for you, and we'll have a conversation with you about your quiz results and see if we can help you. Bobby, I thought this article was pretty, it stood out to me a lot because of how I was raised. More Americans are aging alone. And basically what this is talking about is a lot of people are entering retirement, or they get into retirement shortly after. They are without a spouse, or they don't have family nearby. And that really makes it difficult when it comes to making some of these healthcare decisions that you and I talked about in the first segment.
Yeah.
Because if someone gets sick, they don't have a spouse to take care of them, they don't have family to take care of them, things can really get hard. Let's jump into that. What do you think surprises folks most about Medicare?
I think one of the big things, two things. One, Medicare is actually pretty confusing, right? If you go through all the different options, unfortunately, a lot of people just pick one and move on just because they don't have somebody to walk them through the process. That's why we have Tanner Moore on staff. That's all he does for our clients. So even if you already have a Medicare plan picked out, great. It renews every year, and you can come have a discussion with him about that, how it actually works. Make sure it still fits you well.
Yeah.
See if there's another option.
Right.
So the complication really confuses folks. And then a lot of people think that it does cover long-term care.
Yeah, and it does not.
It just does not. That's just a flat-out myth, right? And so talking to that Wall Street Journal article that you mentioned, we're seeing that a lot when we do long-term care planning for couples. It's not generally the spouse that passes first that needs that coverage.
That's right.
Right. Generally, it's us men that are going to pass away first. We're going to get sick. Most people want to stay in their home.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, usually our wives will take care of us. Right,
correct.
until we pass. Well, here's the problem with that, is that not only is your wife, lost her spouse, but then if she ends up getting sick, who's going to take care of her? And so having a benefit, a long-term care benefit, to be able to have extra money to have people come in the house and help her, or if she, God forbid, does have to go into a facility.
Yeah,
it's usually always the surviving spouse that needs to rely on the cash more.
Yeah,
and people often overlook that.
Yeah, and it's something. I mean, even if you do have children nearby, the stress that if mom or dad need long-term care, the stress it puts on the kids. I mean, again, I live this, and that's hardcore.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to put that stress on your children.
No, yeah, and a lot of people say exactly that. Listen, I don't want my children to have to care for me. Most children would help, obviously.
Sure.
We love our parents. But again, people just don't realize how much of an emotional and physical stressor that is, caring for aging parents, especially if they're sick.
And something else I want to bring up is just discussions about healthcare in general. I mean, inflation.
Yeah.
We're living longer than expected. Higher healthcare costs. 70% of us need some type of long-term care. That stat blows me away. And if you're, God forbid, one of those 70% of people, if you're not prepared, I don't care if you got $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, it can get wiped out quick.
It goes fast. If you need full skill care nursing facilities, $10,000 a month plus. Here in the Chattanooga area, at least. Knoxville is probably more expensive than that as you get into bigger cities. Well, here's the thing: is unless you sell your house and move into a facility, all your other expenses don't just go away because you need long-term care, right? That's usually $10,000 on top of whatever else you were spending in retirement. $120,000 a year. If you're not expecting that and have a plan for it, it could be absolutely detrimental.
So let's talk about this, Bobby. You brought it up earlier, just a few minutes ago. Most people would prefer to be taken care of at home.
Yep.
Okay. What we've seen a lot with traditional long-term care policies, and as a matter of fact, even some of the fixed indexed annuities out there with their income or their doubler, what we call them on there, you have to be confined into a home to get that benefit.
That's right.
Well, if most people are wanting to be taken care of at home, let's talk about how important some of these programs that you and I talk to people about, they're ADL driven, activities of daily living skills. If you fail 2 of those, and we get a letter from the doctor, they'll give you the money. It's paid directly to you. You do not have to be in a home.
Yeah, and that works one of 2 ways. So if you have more of like an accumulation product, an annuity that's there for safe growth, and you fail 2 of those ADLs, they'll just give you all your money back.
All your money after 1 year. You got a 1-year waiting period.
Yeah. And the odds that you're going to not be sick and then in less than 1 year need that is very low.
Very low.
They'll just give you all your money back, plus all the bonus you got if you got one in that product and all your earnings.
The interest, the principal, everything.
They give it all back to you. And then if it's more of an income style FIA, which we use a lot, we talked about last segment, 2 of those ADLs you failed, some of these will double your income, up to 5 years to help you care for that. But the biggest point that you're trying to make, and I hope everybody hears, is that most of these are cash to you.
Yeah.
It gets put in your checking account.
Yeah.
Right? You can spend it however you want to spend it. There's that traditional long-term care is, usually you get a bill from a facility, you pay the bill, you get a receipt, and then you have to send it off to the insurance company. The insurance company will take 2 or 3 weeks to approve it and get you money back. You might get reimbursed before it's time to pay next month's.
Or you might not.
Or you might not, right? Wouldn't it be much easier just to have that money dropped into your account and you use it what you see fit?
Yeah.
It's a much better way of doing it.
I had a lady up in Knoxville last week, or actually 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about this same thing. She goes, listen, if I get sick, I was showing her the product you just talked about where if you fail 2 ADLs, they'll just send you all your money. She goes, if that happens to me, I'm cruising 365 days a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to get on a cruise ship, and I'm never getting off of it because I'll have the money, and they've got great health care. And I'm like, you know what? It's not a bad play. Yeah. I thought it was kind of funny. Here's a fun question I'm going to throw at you, Bobby.
Okay.
If retirement came with an owner's manual, what chapter would most people skip?
I think it would be this healthcare
I do too.
conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it doesn't necessarily feel like money. Right. Retirement's all about money and making sure you're not going to run out of money and this sort of thing. Healthcare, a lot of people like to put it in another bucket.
Sure.
But if you don't have your health, why are you so worried about your wealth? You say that all the time.
I do say it all the time, yeah.
And that's a big part of retirement is making sure you can be around to enjoy and do the things you want to do.
Hey, listen, if you're out there and you just have questions about Medicare, call Tanner Moore, 710-9199, 423-710-9199. Tanner can help you out. And it's a complimentary meeting. So speaking of Medicare, last question for this segment. When should someone start Medicare planning?
Oh, boy, that's a loaded question, right? Certainly, 3 or 4 months before you turn 65. It's kind of the easy one.
I think about a year.
But if you are retiring before then, you need to think about it. Right?
Yeah,
because it's not just Medicare that you need to be worried about. It's just health insurance in general. And it can be complicated, and there's a lot of stuff that you need to go through and look at. So, yeah, I don't hate a year before you turn 65.
I mean,
at least figure out what your options are.
That's right. Yeah. And because if you don't file it, that's the thing about Medicare. Maybe some of you don't know. If you don't file on time, there's penalties.
Yeah.
If you don't file the right way, there's penalties. Maybe you're still working and you don't need Medicare because you got great health insurance at your company, but you still have to file for Medicare. I mean, there's so many rules. So, again, if you're out there, you're about to turn 65, you're 64-ish years old, come in and see Tanner. It's absolutely free, 423-710-9199. If you're concerned about this long-term care situation that Bobby and I just talked about, come in and see Tim and Bobby, 423-710-9199. Up in Knoxville, go see Brogan, 865-951-7526. Now, one of the main things I talk about in my book, Plan Today on Tomorrow, is long-term care planning. It's what got me into this industry, folks, is long-term care planning. If you'd like a copy of my book, text the word book to 423-710-9199 if you're here in the Chattanooga area. If you're up in the Knoxville area, text the word book, 865-951-7526. You can always get your smartphone out and go to plantodayoffer.com, plantodayoffer.com. We're going to get your information. We're going to send you the book out absolutely free. Now, here's the only thing I ask. We're going to send you this book free. After you read the book, I would love for you to come in and have a conversation with Tim and Bobby here in Chattanooga. Come in and have a conversation with Brogan up in Knoxville. Let's just make sure you're set up. Let's make sure your income planning's right. Let's make sure your health care planning's right. Legacy planning, tax planning. We do all of those things in a one-stop shop here at Guardian Investment Advisors. Now, when we come back, I'm going to have a little fun with Bobby because he was not expecting this. And we're going to do what we call a lightning round. And I'm just going to start throwing questions out at Bobby to get his answers on it. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, if you'd like to come in and see Tim and Bobby, 423-710-9199, Brogan up in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. We'll be back on our last segment of Plan Today on Tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Are you really ready to retire? Have you taken the steps to make sure your income will last as long as you do? Most people think they're ready until they take the quiz. Get a complimentary retirement reality check at GIAquiz.com and find out where you stand and how to move forward with confidence. Welcome back to Plan the Day on Tomorrow. Garry Thurman, founder and CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. Thanks for taking time out of your day to listen to us on the radio or watch us on YouTube or Facebook Live with our show Plan Today on Tomorrow. A couple of things I want to throw out there before we jump into this lightning round of questions with Bobby. If you'd like to come in and see Tim and Bobby, again, it's absolutely complimentary. 423-710-9199. Brogan up in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. And if you'd like a copy of my book, Plan Today on Tomorrow, go to plantodayoffer.com. Plantodayoffer.com. We'll send you the book right out. After you get it, read it, come in and see the advisors. And let's make sure we have some fun planning for your retirement, which is what it's all about. All right, Bobby, you ready?
Let's go.
Would you rather have a guaranteed pension or a $2 million IRA?
I'll take the $2 million IRA, and then I would go make my own pension.
I love that.
So
answer.
that's kind of that's not what you asked, but there are a lot of potentially a lot of issues with pensions. If you have employers that go under. We saw this famously in 2008 with Delta, right?
That's right.
I worked with a couple of pilots that had $100,000 a year pensions, which were just awesome. And then when they had to file for bankruptcy in 2008, the Pension Benefit Guarantee Board, which is the national organization that covers the pension, says we'll honor your pensions, but it's going to be a third of what it was.
That happened to my father at UPS.
Famously.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Overnight, they went from an absolute awesome guaranteed income to a fraction of that. Insurance companies work a little differently than private pensions. So I'd take the $2 million and then I'd go fill my green bucket.
So another question I wasn't prepared to ask you, but I'm going to ask you since you just brought that up. Pensions aren't guaranteed is what we're saying.
That's correct.
If someone has a lump sum option on a pension, or they can take payments over time.
Yeah.
Have you seen where you can take that lump sum option and maybe even get that person more income and more benefits? I mean, is it kind of a 50-50 thing?
Yeah, it's getting to be a little more than 50-50 now. What Gary's mentioning is that if you have a pension benefit with your employer, oftentimes when you retire, they'll say, okay, Gary, I can start a guaranteed income for the rest of your life, or I can write you a big check for what the value of that pension is. Well, we can take that value, that lump sum benefit, and go out with a private insurance company and oftentimes, at least match or beat that income that the private pension's offering you. But we generally have more bells and whistles.
That's
so
right.
We did this literally last week for some lady.
Okay.
We it was the same amount of income. It was a smaller pension. She was going to get about $1,000 a month.
Okay.
Well, we took it from $1,000 a month on her lifetime. We were able to do $1,000 a month joint income for her and her husband, and she gets the guarantees with a private insurance company. Oh, and by the way, it was one of those programs that had a doubler for long-term care, right?
So it's better than a pension.
It's better than, and all she had to do was sign a form.
That's crazy.
Right? So
I love that.
that's certainly worth taking a look at.
I love this question. What's one thing retirees spend too much money on?
Grandkids. No, I think just lifestyle creep, and not knowing that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if you plan for it. Tim and Brogan and I meet with people all the time, and one of our questions is, Gary, if you came to see us, how much do you want to spend in retirement, right? And I think when we say that, we say it, how much do you want to spend in retirement? They go, all right, my light bill's this, my mortgage is this, my car payment's this. All right, I guess I've add all those up. It's the number, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not really what we asked. We said, what do you want to do? Make sure you have fun, go on vacation, spoil those grandkids. And it's important to know that number, because if we put a plan together for you for $6,000 a month and you're really spending 8 or 9 regularly, right? Every once in a while, if you go over monthly spending, it's not going to be a big deal to the way we do planning. But if you're doing it regularly, it can be. So understand what you want to spend in retirement. Be honest about it, too.
I think my answer of what one thing retirees spend too much money on, I was going to say healthcare, because I don't think they plan for it.
Yeah.
I don't think they plan for it.
You can throw taxes in there, too.
That's right. Here's gosh, this is a great one. If Warren Buffett walked into Guardian Investment Advisors today, Bobby, what question would you ask him first?
Boy, when are you going to retire?
He's got plenty of money.
Yeah. Yeah, that I'd probably just pick his brain. Obviously he's got so much money, he could never spend it all. He pretty famously is a pretty frugal guy, right? Lives in the same home that he's always lived in.
Yeah.
Worth many billions of dollars. So that's really cool. I may ask him, how he's able to do that and get around that lifestyle creep that unfortunately so many people.
I love it. I love it. If you, Bobby Futch, could eliminate one retirement worry forever, what would it be?
It'd be the healthcare concern.
Good one.
Right? Because it's pretty emotional, not only for the people that are going through it, but families. Right? And it's one of those things that while you don't want to have to spend less in retirement because an income plan didn't work out, you always have that option, right? You can always downsize a home, and God forbid that happens. But you can't just kind of fix your health if you let it slip. Right?
Yeah, I love that.
That's usually kind of a permanent thing.
I think for me, I think the one worry I would like to eliminate for clients would be income, because that kind of goes along with the health care, right? Because everybody's worried about running out of money. This is a great one. If you won, Bobby, $10 million tomorrow, what financial advice would you still follow?
I'd keep a spending plan.
Yeah.
I think it'd be even more important if you have a windfall like that, because it'd be so easy just to go out and spend, like right now, I don't know, I'm looking at a fence, right, for my house. Fences are so ridiculously expensive, right? But if I had $10 million, it wouldn't seem like that. So I'd just go buy a fence, right? Not think about it. You did that lifestyle creep is important. So I'd want to keep a close eye on where that $10 million went. And part of any good spending plan, Gary, a lot of people overlook is you need to have a line item for savings.
Sure.
Right? So a vast majority of that would be earmarked for future retirement.
And I think you just made me think of, you had a stat a while back about people who win the lottery.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember the number.
You win $10 million in a lottery, and most of them go broke in a few years.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So that's why having that spending plan would be so important. This is a great one. I love this. If you could give every 30-year-old one piece of advice, what would it be?
Be absolutely militant about putting money away for retirement. I don't care if it's $200 a month. I don't care if it's $2,000 or $20 a month. Start it as early as you can, and then just keep at it. Right, even if it's $20 a month.
Yeah,
you still got 30 years.
Yeah,
right. That $20 is going to be worth a whole lot more when you go to retire. Just start doing it and forget you're doing it.
David Bach just sat down with Mel Robbins last week, and he talked about saving $10,000 a year. And I'm going to be off of my numbers a little bit here, but he said that's $27.50 a day.
Mm-hmm.
Add 10% interest to it. But think about what that would do for a 30-year-old right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it would compound.
Yeah, be huge.
And be big for the future. I think something that I personally do talk to my boys about that are at that same age break is taxes. Yeah. They're going to see some higher taxes.
Without a doubt.
They're going to see some higher taxes, so that's something I think they should be planning for as well. What financial lesson did your parents teach you that still matters today?
The savings.
Your dad was military.
He was military, right? They were really careful about their budgeting, and of course, everybody knows, our military didn't get paid a whole lot of money, right? And my mom was a school teacher. You just wanted to make sure you were smart about using your money, right? Use it for what you need to use it for. Make sure you save, and then once those things are taken care of, then you can go have a little bit of fun.
Love that. I'm going to ask you one more. We got time for one more. What is the biggest financial myth you've ever heard? You've been doing this for a long time, Bobby.
Yeah, I would say it's the Medicare myth. We talked about it, or the 4% rule.
The 4% rule, yeah.
Medicare just doesn't cover everything you think it does. Make sure you know what Medicare is covering when you get into retirement, because it could be a huge hole in your income plan.
Yeah, and we really didn't get into taxes today, but that's a topic of conversation we're having with everybody, Bobby.
Absolutely.
And tell me why. Why are we having a conversation about paying taxes now?
Yeah, our debt is higher than it's ever been.
$5 million a minute.
$5 million a minute. We owe over $39 trillion as a country. That's over $290,000 per household, right?
Wow.
And so couple that with the third lowest income tax brackets we've ever been in right now. Taxes have to go up in a meaningful way in the future. So if you can prepay some of those taxes, get Uncle Sam out of your pocket, it makes a huge, huge difference, because taxes are going to be much higher in the future.
And those low tax rates are locked in through the end of 2028.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we got a couple of years.
At least that long that we know what tax rates are going to be. We just don't know when or if they're going to change at some point after that. I would almost guarantee they will go up at some point in the future.
Me too. Folks, listen, retirement planning shouldn't be complicated. It should be easy, and that's why we use our bucket system: red, yellow, and green. We keep it so simple. We want to make sure you have enough income for the rest of your life. We want to make sure you are prepared if you're one of the 70% of people that actually get sick and need some long-term care. We're going to get into tax planning. We're going to get into Medicare planning. We're going to get into estate planning. We help you put all those puzzle pieces together that Bobby brought up earlier, so that you can live every day like a Saturday in retirement and just not have these worries and not have these fears that we've been talking about on the show today. I would invite you to give us a call here in Chattanooga, 423-710-9199. Give us a call in Knoxville, 865-951-7526. Come in for that complimentary meeting. It's not going to cost you anything but a little bit of your time. We'd also like to give you a copy of my book, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. Those same phone numbers. You can text the word book, 423-710-9199, or text the word book, 865-951-7526, or pull out that phone or go to your computer and go to plantodayoffer.com. Plantodayoffer.com will send you the book right out. After you read through the book, come in and see one of our guys, Bobby, Tim here in Chattanooga, Brogan, Walters up in Knoxville. We would love to start the planning process for you, and we do it on a complimentary basis. That's what we're here for. We want to make sure you live every day like a Saturday. Bobby, good show, man.
I enjoyed it. Thank you, Gary.
A lot of fun.
Yes, sir.
Join us next week for more Plan Today, Own Tomorrow, giving you all the educational retirement advice that we can. Have a blessed weekend. God bless. Take care.